Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name is Marcus Whitman. I was married to Margaret for 22 years. Some people call that a lifetime. I used to think so too. We met in our final year of graduate school. She was sharp, decisive, and had this way of making a room feel warmer just by being in it. We didn't waste time. Got married a year after graduation, when neither of us had much more than a couple of paychecks and an old hatchback that wheezed on hills. Those early years were tight but solid. Margaret started freelance interior design gigs, and I landed a logistics coordinator job for a supply chain firm. It wasn't flashy, but it paid steadily. We weren't the romantic type you'd see in movies. We were builders, practical, strategic. It took 8 years before we decided to have a child. We both agreed we didn't want to raise a kid while still chasing stability. When our daughter Lena was born, everything changed. Not in some dramatic epiphany kind of way, but in the way a quiet house suddenly finds rhythm. I stepped up at work. Margaret pulled back from client projects for a while. We weren't rich, but we moved from an apartment to a 3-bedroom ranch outside of town. I drove a used Ford. She had a decent crossover. Bills got paid on time, Lena went to good schools, and we never missed a parent-teacher meeting. People used to say we were solid. That word stuck with me. It wasn't flashy praise, but I liked it. That's what made what came later hard to accept. When something falls apart suddenly, people assume you ignored the signs. But that wasn't the case. Not with us. We were steady, reliable, until one day we weren't. And it didn't start with shouting or betrayal. It started quietly, with silence, with Friday nights skipped for late client consults and phones that flipped face down on kitchen counters. Margaret had always been present. Not clingy, just there. She'd ask how my day went. She'd remember I had a meeting with corporate and make sure there was dinner waiting when I got home late. That kind of rhythm doesn't come from grand romantic gestures. It comes from attention. Then, around our 21st anniversary, that attention shifted. She started taking her phone into the bathroom, not once or twice, every time, always with the screen tilted away, always with the door locked. She laughed more at her phone than she did at anything I said. When I mentioned it, she said, "Just memes from Sarah." You wouldn't get it. Sarah was her assistant, helped manage Margaret's freelance projects. They weren't exactly meme buddies, but I didn't press. You don't accuse your wife of lying about texts unless you're ready for what comes next. Fridays used to be our thing. Not big dates, just takeout and a bottle of wine in the living room. That tradition started in year 2 of the marriage and never skipped, until suddenly it did. "I have a site meeting in the evening," she said once, keys already in hand. "Client wants to walk through the property under nighttime lighting." I stared at her. "You ever had one of those before?" She didn't blink. "It's a high-end client, Marcus. Things change." The way she said my name, sharp, like she was annoyed I even asked. That's when the first real crack showed. One night, around 11, I got up for water. As I passed the hallway, I heard laughter from the guest bathroom, light, flirty, too young for Margaret's usual tone. I paused outside the door. "Stop, Owen," she giggled, then lowered her voice. "No, seriously, you're bad." I knocked once. No answer. I opened the door slowly. She looked up from her phone like I'd just kicked it out of her hand. "Oh my God, Marcus, privacy?" I stared at her. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, Sarah, just being dumb." She walked past me, not waiting for a reply, not offering a second glance. I stood in the hallway alone, the air thick with something I couldn't name yet. But I felt it. And whatever it was real. I didn't confront her, not yet. I waited, not because I was scared, but because I needed to be sure. Margaret was sharp. If I came at her with half a story, she'd flip it on me before I could finish a sentence. So I watched. She started dressing up more, even on days she said she wasn't seeing clients. She wore perfume I hadn't smelled on her in years. Her phone never left her hand. One Thursday evening, she said, "I have a late consultation across town. It might run long." I nodded. "What's the address?" She hesitated. "Why?" "Just wondering. Might order from that Italian place you like if you're near there." She rattled off a random street name. I memorized it. The second she pulled out of the driveway, I followed. I kept 2 cars behind. 10 minutes later, she turned into a small lot behind a cocktail bar, not the address she gave me. 5 minutes later, a man walked out of the bar. Tall, lean, maybe late 20s, early 30s, long coat, tight jeans. He spotted her and smiled. They hugged like it wasn't the first time. Margaret pulled back, said something, then laughed. She touched his chest, gently, like she was checking if he was real. I watched them walk inside together. Didn't take pictures. I didn't need evidence. I needed clarity. I stayed in the car for an hour, engine off, lights down. When they didn't come out, I drove home, slow and quiet. When I got in, I sat at the kitchen table, stared at the clock, and waited for her to return. I didn't feel rage. I just felt done. 22 years. That's what it took. She came in just after midnight. Quiet, casual, like nothing was off. I was still at the table. I didn't say a word until she closed the front door. "You get the lighting just right?" I asked. She froze for half a beat, then smiled without turning. "Yeah, client was picky." I stood up. "Was his name Owen?" That smile vanished. She turned slowly. "What?" "Owen," I repeated. "The guy you hugged outside Glass and Grain. The one you had drinks with for 2 hours while I sat outside in the damn car." Her face dropped, like someone had yanked a wire from the back of her skull. "You followed me? That's your takeaway?" She looked away. "You had no right to do that." I stepped forward, calm, measured. "You had no right to lie to me." She crossed her arms back against the kitchen counter. "You think I wanted it to be like this?" "I don't know what you wanted, Margaret. You haven't said a real thing to me in over a year." Her voice cracked, but only for a second. "I felt invisible, Marcus. You're always working, always somewhere else. You stopped seeing me." "You mean I stopped chasing you around the house, trying to get 5 minutes of your time?" She didn't answer. "So what now?" I asked. "Is this serious? Are you leaving?" "I don't know," she whispered. That was the worst answer she could have given. Not yes, not no. Then we heard footsteps. Lena stood in the hallway, hair messy from sleep, holding her phone. "What's going on?" she asked. Margaret looked at her like backup had arrived. "Your dad's upset," she said. "He followed me." Lena looked at me, confused. "Why?" "Because your mother's been seeing someone," I said. "Someone younger, someone who isn't me." Lena's face changed, not to shock or concern, but to disappointment. "In me? That's not how you fix things," she said coldly. "You don't stalk people. You talk to them. She's been lying for months. Maybe if you were around, she wouldn't have to." I just stared at her. Couldn't believe it. Two people I built my life around, and now both looking at me like I was the villain in their story. Margaret left a week later. No bags packed in secret, no dramatic door slams, just a quiet Saturday morning and a suitcase by the front door. "I'm going to stay with my sister for a while," she said, eyes not meeting mine. "Just need space." I looked at the suitcase, then at Lena, who stood in the hallway, arms crossed. She was dressed like she was going with her mother, already zipped up in a hoodie and sneakers. "You going too?" I asked. Lena nodded without hesitation. "Yeah, I think it's better this way." Margaret kept her voice steady. "We just need a break, Marcus. Don't make this harder than it has to be." I didn't say anything, just stepped aside and let them walk out. When the door shut, the silence wasn't peaceful. It was surgical. Later that week, the divorce papers came. No surprises, joint assets, property division, standard terms. My lawyer, a quiet guy named Harold Knapp, looked it over and said, "You want to fight this?" I shook my head. "No, I want it done." We settled fast. She didn't ask for alimony, probably because she figured she wouldn't need it. I knew why. I had already done my own digging. 2 days after our fight, I hired a PI, discreet, clean, professional. His name was Cameron Mays, ex-cop, detail-oriented. What he found didn't surprise me. Owen was a serial opportunist. Dated older women, always with steady incomes and low self-esteem. Pitched them vague business ideas, apps, design firms, travel consultancies, and convinced them to invest. None of them ever saw a return. Margaret was just the next name on the list. Cameron sent me photos. One was of Owen getting into a BMW Margaret had leased. Another was of him at a bank, depositing cash. The timestamp lined up with a withdrawal Margaret had made 3 days before. I didn't send her the photos. She made her move. I made mine. Let her learn the way I did. By watching something you built get taken from you while you stand still and silent. 3 months passed. I didn't hear a word from Margaret. No texts, no calls, not even from Lena. I saw their lives play out through social media. Photos of brunch spots, some rooftop party, a vacation in Napa Valley that Margaret definitely couldn't afford on her own. Owen was in a few pictures early on, always with that too confident smirk, his hand on her waist like he'd won something. Then he was gone. No posts, no tags, no mentions. 2 weeks after he vanished from her feed, I got a message. It wasn't from Margaret. It was Lena. Her text was short. "Can I come by after school?" That was the first time I saw her in months. She stood in the doorway like she didn't know how to enter her own house anymore. I didn't say anything, just moved aside and let her in. She sat on the couch, fingers digging into her sleeves. "Mom's not doing great," she said. I stayed quiet. She gave Owen a bunch of money, said it was for some new studio. He was going to put her name on the lease. I raised an eyebrow. "He leave town?" Lena nodded. "Yeah, took her money. Her card, too. He even pawned one of her necklaces. It was Grandma's." I didn't react. "She's been crying a lot," Lena said. "She doesn't want to talk about it. Just sits in the dark and blames herself." "She should," I said. Calm, flat. Lena blinked. "You don't care at all?" I looked at her. "No, I stopped caring the minute you both walked out like I never existed." Her voice dropped. I was angry. I thought, you were cold, that you didn't love her anymore. I worked every day to make sure you never went without. I sacrificed time, sleep, health, all of it, so that the roof didn't cave in on your head. "I know now," she whispered, but it was too late for apologies. I walked over, opened the front door. "Tell your mother not to call me. Not now, not ever." Lena hesitated, then nodded. She walked out without saying goodbye, just like her mother had. It was almost 5 months before I heard from Lena again. She texted first, simple things. "Hope you're okay? I saw your old truck on Main. The Titans are blowing the season again." I didn't ignore her, but I didn't invite her back either. Then one Sunday afternoon, she showed up without texting first. She was standing on my porch holding a paper bag with takeout. I opened the door, looked at her. "I brought food," she said. "Didn't want to eat alone." I let her in. We ate in silence for the first few minutes, both of us pretending it wasn't awkward. Then she put her fork down. "I was wrong about everything," she said. I didn't say anything. I believed Mom because I wanted to. It was easier. You were always working and she was always available. She talked. You didn't. "I talked plenty," I said. "You just weren't listening." "I know," she said. And now I can't unsee it. The way she let everything go. The way she spins stories. I stayed quiet. "She's not okay. She cries at night, like loud, and she keeps saying things like, 'I messed up the only good thing I ever had.'" "She did," I said, "but not just with me. With you, too." Lena looked down. "I want to come back," she said. "Not just for a night. For good." That caught me. "I don't need your forgiveness," she added quickly. "I just want to earn it, if you'll let me." That night, she stayed. I gave her the guest room. Over the next few weeks, we found a rhythm again. Slow, unspoken. I didn't give speeches. I cooked dinner. She helped with dishes. We watched the news together and sometimes played a game. Meanwhile, Margaret sent letters, actual handwritten ones, rambling, emotional, nostalgic. I read one, then I burned it. It was a Tuesday afternoon when she came back. I'd just gotten home when I saw her car. Margaret stood at the front door holding one of those old tan leather purses she used to love. She looked thinner, tired. She smiled, small, weak, the kind you give when you're not sure if you're welcome. "I just wanted to talk. That's all." I crossed my arms. "Talk about what?" "I made a mistake," she said. "I know that now. I see what I gave up, what I ruined." I waited. She kept going. "Owen used me, took everything. And the worst part is, I let him. I was so wrapped up in feeling alive again that I didn't see what was real, what mattered." I let her talk. She needed to hear herself say it. "I think about those nights," she said. "You working late, still showing up for Lena's recitals, paying the bills, fixing, remembering anniversaries." She reached into her purse and pulled out a letter, folded, thick. I wrote this months ago. I couldn't send it. I didn't think I deserved to. I didn't take it. You don't have to forgive me. I just needed you to know I never stopped. I cut her off. You blinked, Margaret. What? You blinked when it counted, when it was us against everything. And I didn't. She took a half step back, like the air had just turned sharp. I nodded once. I survived it. Rebuilt. I don't need to reopen the wreckage just so you can feel better about walking away. She looked down. I get it. I closed the door. Didn't lock it with flair. Just closed it like you'd close a file that doesn't need revisiting. Lena came downstairs 10 minutes later. Was that Mom? I nodded. She okay? She's alive, I said. Lena sat beside me on the couch without saying anything else. Quiet, simple, steady. Because the version of me Margaret wanted back doesn't exist anymore. And the one sitting here, he never blinks. Thank you for watching.